name, but I've heard that type of thing happening. It's just, I mean, it is. I definitely think there's a big part of it that is you're behind the screen, so you feel emboldened to go and talk to people like that and everything else. I'm waiting for the Instagram to hook up. There we go. Um, so I mean, there's definitely I can see how that's a problem, and I can see how. I just want to adjust one thing real quick. Oops, I messed it up.
Do you have like an intro that you do?
Yeah, here's my intro. Hi, guys. Hey, Sarah. My intro is we're here. I'd like to remind everyone that I want to hear from you. Adam wants to hear from you. So that's my first part. So, welcome to this week's episode of Live Maker Talk. I'm very formal here. I've got my theme song is ding, 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 ding. We're here with Adam Barnett. Barnett Builds. You guys know him. He is amazing. Most of you know him. Our theme tonight, what we really want to talk about, and what I asked him on to talk about, was social media, building a presence, and doing great videos, because Adam makes incredible videos. He is, hey, inventor of the restorer. I love him. And there's Ryan. So what's really cool about Adam is, besides the fact that he burns all that scrap, is he has all sorts of different ways. That's just crazy. Lots of ways of coming up with videos and making the content really good. So as always, my intro to everything, Adam, is what's your origin story?
So there was this truck that had like radioactive chemicals on the back, and there was an accident, and this kid was going to get hit. And I pushed him out of the way, and it all spilled on me.
And that explains the lumps on your back.
Yeah, years in physical therapy, but I don't know, like the origin story. I feel like I've answered this a bunch of times, but I've never like ironed it out. Like, do you want like from birth or? So my dad was a woodworker.
Okay, that's a great start. Like, I mean, tell us about it. What a beautiful Instagram life. These guys. So no, listen, like, I mean, so I was talking to my wife the last week, and she goes, I know how you started doing things. She goes, but I don't know your actual origin. And I talked about the fact that when I was a kid, I made business card holders. My uncle was a ear, nose, and throat surgeon in Miami, and he wound up buying them from me. And the point of it was that he believed in me, which gave my woodworking more credence, and it's something that's always stuck with me. So just where did you start doing this? How did you get into it? Your dad did woodworking. I know you were in construction.
Well, industrial engineering and manufacturing. So I guess as far as like woodworking, my dad was a woodworker. Like they're Kentucky people. Go down, meet my family in the summertime, and they're cutting a stick, turn it into a whistle with a pocket knife and stuff. Like, they're all just kind of like woodworkers or whatever. So the concept of you just fix things and you make stuff was just normal to me. That's just what you do. My dad had like the wood shop in the back of the garage. But he never like taught me how. I watched and I consumed information. So it's I don't know. I don't have a great relationship. I don't talk to my dad anymore. But
that built something in you. You got the lessons watching him.
Yeah.
So how did you get into then woodworking and then content creation? Because that's really right. Yeah. That's really where our story is going tonight.
Yeah, I feel like all the dots connected. So woodworking was there, and then as long as I can remember, I'm an artist. I was that nerdy kid walking around with a sketchbook always. Like I got really, really into like surrealism and stuff like that. So it was art was there. So I've studied art all through high school. Thought I was going to go to college for it. Started a couple college things in art and design, and then things didn't really like pan out and life got crazy. I had kids way too early. So it was like, all right, time to go to work. And I ended up in a machine shop. So that's where I think the majority of my personal growth as far as making and stuff like that came from that. Um, I was off and on in that one machine shop, specifically this one, for like 20 years. And
Wow.
yeah, I did like a bunch of different things and left and came back. And I've always had a side job too. So I've always had this like side hustle mentality. I was trying to sell life insurance for a while, and then I was, bar backing and doing like open mics at bars and stuff. And so there's always something on the side. Eventually, uh, my bosses wanted to start a company to make a product that we were already making for another company that they didn't like, and then beat them at their own game.
Okay.
And that's not how you start a business.
I was gonna say, that sounds it's a little shady right there.
Yeah, I mean, they had a passion towards it, but they just wanted to beat someone else kinda thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't think they really, like, figured out their end user. They just thought they were making cool stuff, other people would want it, and that they just came out to me and were like, "Hey, can you make all this stuff?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, I'd been working there probably 15 years at this point, off and on. I had I don't know, done so many things. Like I just had this resume of like building, crafting, art, and eye for design. I was a photographer on the side for a while. There was just so many things that just ticked all those boxes. So when they gave me full creative control and said, "Hey, can you just make something for us to look at?" They were expecting like, 4 tubes hooked together. It was aftermarket truck parts. So they were
Okay.
thinking like a brush guard on the front of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it like I came up with this idea and I was like, "We'll just take steel plate and just bend it a couple ways." And it looked sick. I put just a little bit of effort into it, and then all that stuff kind of took off. And then they just gave me like full creative control on, all right, next product, next product, next product. So I was just designing, fabricating, figuring stuff out. Had to learn all this stuff about like springs to make like hatches to carry, on the back hatch of a car, like the tire carrier. But I
Yeah.
needed springs to help carry the load. So I learned all that stuff. I was hand drawing all my prints at the time and sending them out to like laser companies to
Okay.
cut this stuff and get it bent and stuff. So there was a lot of confidence that came from that. And
Yeah.
they went to the SEMA show out in Vegas.
Yeah.
Like it was a big hit, all my stuff. I didn't go, but uh, my first design got
Person whose idea they were.
whatever. Don't need to get into that. That's just a different story. I think there was a better way they could have handled that, sure. But yeah, like Truck Trend magazine, my first design said was in like the top 10 best things coming out that year.
Oh
Like,
wow.
yeah, so there was a massive confidence boost that came from that. And then I asked them, I felt like I was kind of at a ceiling. I'm like, "Hey, I'm hand drawing prints and doing all this stuff. Would you guys like help pay for a couple college classes to learn some computer design?" And they were like, no, that you'll be drawing gears and stuff, and it doesn't really apply. It's you don't need that crap." I was like, "Okay." So I did it myself. And then 6 months later, they redid their logo, and it was a tire, and it looked exactly like a gear, which
Yeah.
I thought was hilarious.
Yeah. Right.
Um, but yeah, so eventually I got out of there just because I had confidence and I knew what I was doing. And in those classes I was taking CNC because I messed with them, and been running them for so long. I was like, I want to actually learn how to read and write G code and, learn all of this stuff. So I took some classes on that, and that led to a new job as a production manager in another shop. And then COVID hit. And that shop I'd say is like the turning point of this whole thing. Like, so all those years of all of this, like checking off the boxes of another skill, a little more confidence, another skill, a little more confidence. I got to that shop, and when like, I don't know, 6 months before COVID hit, I was asking if I could use a CNC machine because I had this idea. I was like, I've seen this like epoxy trend starting, and I was like, I could throw something on the CNC machine, carve it out, and then fill that with epoxy and mill it back flat and have like a totally filled thing. I was like, that would be so cool. And I hadn't seen anybody doing it. And I'm like, "Hey, do you mind if I do this?" I was the production manager. Like it was
Yeah.
me. I had keys to the building, like I was running the show. And he's like, "Let's not go there." I was like, "What the heck does that mean?" I was like, "You know what? I'm going to go home and I'm going to build a CNC machine in my garage. I was like, whatever, dude. So I did a bunch of research. I started an LLC. I was like, I'm just going to start my own business because I don't want to work for this guy forever. Like, I have all this creative idea. I'm going to go for it. So in 2020, February, I formed my LLC and I bought like have you ever heard of like open builds
Yeah.
machines? It's like that, but I bought a British one, so it had to get imported.
Okay.
So that was all done in February, and then what was it, March or April or whatever, the world ended.
Yeah.
So we all went home. So my CNC machine showed up the week we all got sent home.
Oh,
I was
that's pretty cool.
like, so I just started building, and I was like, kind of getting into Instagram. I had been watching a lot of other people, and I used to post like my photography stuff and never like really made like a dedicated account. So for the business, I made a dedicated account and then started just posting from there. And then the original plan was it was going to be a side hustle, making cutting boards and doing craft shows or whatever, doing CNC carved things and filling it with epoxy. But then it was like, oh, well, I guess I got to do online sales now. Lost my job. That whole plant that I was running shut down. So it was kind of crazy, but it grew over that summer. I just kept making content and showing what I was doing and taking furniture commissions and, grabbing up everything that I could. And it just kept growing until I eventually ended up going back to that machine shop that I had left because they called me and they were like, hey, do you have a job? Or do you have insurance right now? And I was like, whatever, I'll just go back because it's easy, it's comfortable, it's super close.
Yeah.
And 6 a.m. to 2:30.
That's a nice time.
I was like, I still got enough time to get home and still do my side hustle. So it kind of all just kind of worked out like that. And then, the account started growing. And as that happened, my content, like my style, I don't feel like I'm good at making content. Like, I'm doing everything on the phone. I'm not pulling out like a fancy camera with a Canon lens,
I do everything on my iPhone. I edit on my phone.
Yep.
Everything is done there. I use the Splice app. I've done a video about that before. I got to tell Ryan, a whole bunch of people said hi. The two things I got to say. First of all, Brian, built by Bricker. If you guys have not seen his logo piece that someone made for him, it's amazing. Go check that out. Ryan, the chair's from Costco. I'm not showing it. It's kind of uncomfortable. That's the side piece. So, but I did a video about this a while back that I use the Splice app, and it's, everything that I've seen on the big, computer stuff, I can do on my phone. And I don't think it matters what software you use. I think you have a really good eye for how to set up shots, how to put stuff together. And I think, okay, and so before we get into that, I really want to come over to this second part that we talked about. So you went back to that place. You're still making content in your shop.
Yeah.
Some of these people know where your story is headed. Some of them do not, right? Let's go on with that. I want to hear that next part of the story.
It's a thrilling ride. It surprises everybody every time I tell them. I just kept making content, and then one day I was flipping through stories, and there was an ad for a business saying they were looking for somebody that could run social media, make content, and could work remote. Kim and I were walking out the door, like had to go somewhere, and I'm like, we need to wait a second. I need to apply for this. Like, if I don't throw my name in the hat, I will massively regret this.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, okay, oh my gosh. And it like took forever. I did the whole resume. I just applied and got the job. So now I work for Rockler.
There you go. Say it again.
So now I work for Rockler. Yep. All the blue.
Yeah. So yes, the clamp wall is very organized because that's in videos, and you guys have seen, that's AI. You guys have seen this. You've seen Adam on the Rockler commercials. He does those, and I do love how you double yourself in some of those. You're cloning yourself. You're talking to yourself. It's great stuff. But I think that says a lot too about your eye and about your video content, and how good you are. So let's go into this. Let's say you have to make a video for content for Rockler, and there's a lot of content creators on here. It's an interesting story. Like, it's an interesting thing to think about. You and I are in the same type of boat. We made stuff. We went on to making some content, and then all of a sudden you find yourself making more content and less stuff.
Yep.
Right. So I was, yeah. And Ryan talked about he got into furniture after his athletic career. Ryan's going to be one of my guys at some point on here. I got maybe my birthday in a couple weeks. It was Nick Offerman or Ryan. So I think I'm going to have Ryan on for my birthday. Since Nick
Terrible
Offerman.
choice. Terrible. I love you, Ryan, but I'm just kidding. I would pick Ryan.
Yeah. So I know. Okay. I'm sorry. I got distracted. It's my fault. So we're here. You're making the videos for Rockler now. You get a piece. You say, okay, I need to make a video for this particular tool. Maybe one of those blue clamps behind you. Mm-hmm. How do you focus? Oh, shoot. I have to say this. My daughter joined. Hi, sweetheart. I love you. All right. Back to this. So they give you the piece, right? How do you design the content? How do you decide this is how I'm going to build it?
Yeah. I've tried to explain this to people a few times, and I think it's just going to frustrate people. Like you were saying, like, I have an eye for this and that. Like, I spent all that time doing photography. I took schools. Like, I've consumed information. I wish I was in a college class right now. Like, I don't want to stop learning. I wish I could find a woodworking school that was close enough that I could fit it in. I wish I could find a school that was close enough to do filmography and like do like all those things. Like, I don't want to stop consuming information. So I think that's where a lot of it came from, was all those years studying art, all those years doing photography and filmography. I mean, they're very closely related. But I did go to a school for photography, and that I think really helped out a lot. And I used all the Adobe suite for all my editing and everything. So when I started doing my video stuff, I use Adobe applications also. I was using Adobe Rush on the phone. That app is like not serviced anymore, and it's total garbage. It doesn't work anymore. But they have a new thing that's in beta, and if you have an iPhone, you can download it. It's called Project Violet. So I do everything on the phone. But the way the whole idea starts, like I said, it's going to upset people. It just comes to me. I don't know. I'm a creative person. It's like I'm lucky. I don't want to I'm not like I'm awesome, but like I'm kind of awesome. I got blessed with this this amazing gift that, hey, we need you to make a video about this, and a light bulb comes on every single time. Like, I feel really bad when people are saying like they hit the creative wall and I can't think of what I don't have that problem. Like, I don't know. There's so many ideas in here. I can't get them all out. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm always telling people, like, if you need an idea for something, please take some of this. Like,
that's me for jigs. Like, I have so many different ideas and so many different things that I want to do. But sometimes when it comes to making a video, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm just using it. I'm just going to show myself using the tool.
There's a lot of things. Do you need a story to it? No. The reason the Rockler thing was, what's cool is they just gave me creative control, which is perfect for me. You know, like, I checked off all the boxes. I'm a good person. I'm not going to do anything insane. You know, like, they know whatever they're getting is going to be wholesome. Like, they don't have to check like, hey, you know, you're doing some crossing the lines. And even if like I do think I'm going to do something that's kind of pushing, I just ask them. Like, I started a video saying sanding sucks. And I was like, that's a little pushing it. But they were cool with it. And I was like, all right, sweet. But yeah, it comes to me. I don't know. I don't know where it comes from.
Do you have to turn the videos in before you do stuff? Before you post them?
I was in the beginning, and I try to, like we have a whole schedule going, and you know, it's just me. So I do all the moderation. I'm glued to a computer the majority of the day. I just sit in my basement in front of a computer, consuming every single positive and negative comment people leave on the Rockler. It all goes to me, you know. So Um, that's a different story.
Well, I mean,
But that's where the majority of the day goes. So sometimes I end up, like, kind of in a pinch trying to fit in getting the video done, and sometimes I just schedule it and it posts the next day and nobody's reviewed it, it's a surprise to my boss, and then they're just like, "Loved it." I was like, "Phew, all right."
but Katrina just said she's always thought you were so creative. And and you are. The videos are really creative. So again, I do hate that that just comes to you.
Yeah.
Again, it is what it is, right? But how do you do some of your like the planning out stuff? Do you plan out where you're putting the camera and stuff like that, or
Yeah, so when I before I started Rockler, I feel like I had a very different approach to content. Like, sometimes, like, when I do, like, silly, I had, like, that, series where I was, like, complaining about something and asking somebody to help me do something, and then I'd be like, "Oh, wait, I'm the only one that works here."
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like, I did a series, though, so that's where, like, kind of I got comfortable doing the acting and being a living dad joke kinda thing, which
yeah,
I already was. Back to the origin story, the childhood, I wanted to be a comedian and an artist when I grew up, and I did not know this is what it was gonna be, but I kinda feel like I, like, can go back to six-year-old Adam and be like, "You did it."
you
You
know what?
don't work for Marvel, you're not drawing comics, but you did it.
So the first day I did my student teaching was the first day that I found out I liked teaching,
Yeah,
and the reason I liked it was because I walked in and I did stuff, and I was like, "Holy crap! I get to be creative, I get to be ridiculous, and I get to change things up and try new things all the time." You
yeah,
know, like what else could you ask for? So I mean that's a very true statement. So,
I
oh, I
I
mean
think
that's
that
a lot.
fits into the content, like, the I feel like I have an ever evolving style. Like,
Yeah,
it's my style now. So I think that was, like, really pushed when I started for Rockler. It was like, I found out what imposter syndrome is and was just like, "Oh my god." But I don't know, I just started doing it, and every time I made a video, it got a little bit better and a little bit better, and, I was striving for, I wanna have a clean shop. I wanna have that, like, every machine shop I worked in, I was always trying to improve it. I'm like, "Can we just put, like, some tools
yeah,
away and give everything a home, and then put it in its home at the end of the day?
right,
Spend the last 10, 15 minutes of the day cleaning up, sweep up, so that when we come in the morning, it's clear, it's clutter-free, there's no mess from the next day." You're gonna be way more productive, you can dig right in, but you're not you don't get that, like, claustrophobic
right,
stress
right,
from everything from the mess kinda thing, so you're more creatively free too. So I
yeah.
really wanted that with the Rockler thing, so that, I wanted better lighting, and so I just kinda slowly chipped away at it, and, I don't know, I guess you could say I'm, like, building a dream shop kinda thing, which, again, hashtag blessed, I work for Rockler, so it's, you know so that definitely helps, but, I think it forced my style to evolve really quick because I wanna strive to
Right.
be better kinda thing, like, I still think I'm a turd. Like,
Well, I
but,
think the fact that you are hired to do content, that plays it very different. Like, you
yeah,
know, if you are like someone who is, hey, I'm building this and let me just film a little bit, right?
yeah,
That's very different than someone whose focus is, I'm going to use the tools and film this. Like that's
yeah,
your focus. So that needs to be a clean shop.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, definitely. I think, like, I always enjoyed teaching. All my jobs, I had the mindset that, you're only as strong as your weakest link kinda thing,
yeah,
but I just always wanted to teach my peers and stuff. I'm like, if everybody next to me is equally educated or understanding of the job we're doing or smart or whatever, as long as they're at least equal, I want everyone around me to be way smarter. I wanna learn from them. I want
right,
to see a better point of view of everything. So I was always teaching everybody. I'm like, if we're all on the same level, that's gonna make my job easier, and it's gonna
right,
make your jobs easier, and we're both going to have more opportunity in life, kind of thing.
Right.
So I always loved teaching. I don't know if I could specifically do a teacher job. I think I'm too ADHD and kind of, out there. I don't know if I have the right temperament for like handling that much. Like I think there would be a point where I yell at a kid like "shut up," like
Hey man,
I don't,
sometimes
I don't,
that has to happen.
yeah. So I don't know if like actual teaching. I think adult education might be pretty cool. Like I think it would be awesome to be in some type of woodworking school at some point.
Yeah,
I feel like I need to take the class
there's
beforehand.
actually a place. There's actually a place near me that I got to get back in touch with them. Wendell Castle Workshop. So they just opened up, and I might be able to take some classes in
Nice.
exchange for some content.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
yeah, and I would really. That's one of my things. That's what I want to do, and I want to learn how to teach woodworking. And like I've done little classes at school. I've worked with adults.
Yeah.
Uh, Sarah from Rosie's Woodshop teaches adult woodworking classes. Like I've done that stuff. Nick's here. Um, I like. I really enjoy doing that. The problem that I have overall is I don't want to do like, all right, well, guys, we're gonna do another charcuterie board class. Like, I don't mind doing that because that's the entryway to get people into woodworking.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it teaches a lot of the basics. You make a cutting board, and now you just learned how to mill
Yep,
something square, how to make a board flat, and then you learn how to glue things up and clamp them together. And
there's a lot
it's
there.
all basics. It
Right.
teaches you the foundation. But yeah, I did, I don't know, a pile of cutting boards, and then I was immediately like, all right, let's start building furniture because
Yeah. Cutting
I need
boards
more
are.
of that.
I mean, I don't hate cutting boards by any means because I do enjoy matching up stuff and getting them come out, and that's something that sells.
Yeah.
But furniture is more fun for the creative aspect.
Yeah.
Uh, and I've said before, here's my. I got to tell you, here's my business. What I would like to do. One of my many ideas. I would like to get up a business where I have a shop, and someone hires me to build them a table. But what it is they're going to come in and be my apprentice, and we're going to work together, and they're going
Nice.
to make their own table.
That's
You
cool.
know, there's a lot of problems with it. There's a lot of positives with it, I think. But I mean, that's what people want to do. They want to be able to look at something and say, "I made that."
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
The sense of pride that, like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but it's one of the best feelings in the world is stepping back saying, "I made that," but it's also goes hand in hand with what we're talking about teaching, seeing you hand knowledge to someone else and them use it and them step back and go, "I made that." Like, that fills me up way more, like, I'm like, "That's the key,"
so I actually
teaching
want to bring it
manufacturing
back.
kind of thing.
I want to bring this back though because I think this is really important. Do you look at the videos? Because I think making a good, especially a good reel that has or short that has the good information while also being enjoyable. I think that's its own art. Do you sit back
Yeah,
and look at the videos and be like, yeah, I like that video a lot.
there's there's a handful that, like, when I get done, I'm proud of it. A lot of times, it's my job and I'm cranking them out and this and that, and I wanna find a way to enjoy what I do every single time I do it, so I love all my videos. I enjoy making them. Am I proud of them all? Not all of them. Definitely in this last year, I feel like my style has evolved more, and I've been more proud, I think, in the last year than previously, but the so the way the journey works is, all right, we've got this clamp. We need you to make a video about this clamp. So I get the clamp and then I basically study it. So I find out what are the keys to this, what is different, what sets this apart. I identify all of those and kind of list them out. And now I have these like bullet points in front of me basically of like these are the important things that you would talk about. This is what would sell it. This is what makes it unique. So again, it comes to me like something in that process of thinking of the item, some dumb dad joke pops in my head or something, so I get some kind of creative spark there. And then, it's funny what it's turned into is, I in my basement, I have a treadmill, and I set up 2 phones. I put a board of ash across the arms, so I've got, like, a desk there, and
Yep.
I set up and I get on the treadmill and just walk, and I'm studying it, I'm looking at the bullet points, I get to work with product development a lot, so that sometimes that's just provided, like, "Hey, here's the whole thing." So I'm
Right.
basically studying that and then transferring over, "Okay, I know I wanna talk about that part." So I have, like, a notepad open basically on my phone, and I start writing the how would I say this thing about that? And sometimes I already have, like, whatever idea because I wanna tell a story, and I think that comes from all of the, like, I wanted to be a comedian or an actor, or I wanted to, be a writer in some way or another. So like something sparks there. So I just throw that in, and then usually I have like an idea of like a beginning. And sometimes I don't know where the video is going to end yet. So I start filling it all in. And as I'm doing that, I'm saying it all out loud. And then I start like getting, okay, I want to have this type of energy here. And oh, wait, you know what? It'd be funny if this doesn't, it would be funny if I said this here because then it would tie into this. And this doesn't make sense here. So I start rearranging it like that. It usually takes about, sometimes it can take like 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes it could take me an hour and a half, to get like the script essentially. So I write that script out. And then I start hitting record on one phone, or not hit record. I start a timer and I hit go on one phone, and then I start reading the script out loud. And I'm trying to see if I can fit it all into 60 seconds.
Right.
So that makes me kind of like trim the fat. I studied comedy for a long time. I wanted to be a stand-up comic, and they say the best joke is a sentence or a joke that you can no longer take any single word out of it for it to be a solid idea and to still be a complete sentence.
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of people struggle with that, and I think that's why I've like it's become part of my style. I've honed in on that, that I put myself in a limitation. I got 60 seconds. How can I say
Right.
all these bullet points, but then do something stupid to make myself laugh? Like, it's not like I'm like thinking of a specific audience. I know it's my peers kind of thing, because
Yeah.
I was part of the maker community, and like doing silly, stupid stuff on my own. But it's more like I want to enjoy my job. They never asked me to do all that stuff. They didn't say entertain. They just wanted me to make content, which I think they thought my stuff was entertaining before, and that's probably why they hired me. But
But I think there's a couple of really important things here, and I think it's important to bring these out and talk about them. The first thing, which you've already said numerous times, is that you list out what you like about this tool and what's important, right?
yep,
So so that is a big part of the process, right? Here are the things. For a lot of us, we're going to use it, and we might make a mental note. Oh, I really like this. It's easier with something that you use a lot rather
yeah,
than something you just got. So, but
right,
I like that because I think it's important. And I'm sorry. One of the things I do is a lot of times I'll think as I talk and words come out of my mouth, right? So one
right,
of the things that I think is really important here is that as we have used tools a lot, it's harder for us to recognize what things we like about it. It's just automatic. You
yeah,
know, it's one of those built in, you don't think about it. So I love the idea of making a list and listing out all of those positive things and all those things you want to talk about. The other thing I think is really important, and I'm sure everybody here, 90% of the people who have seen or had a viral video, the videos that you see are always viral for, it always comes down to value, right? It's a humor value, it's a life story value, it's a visually appealing value, right? There's
or a
something,
negative.
right? So there's some sort of value that the person is getting from it. I have found that for mine, it's stories. If I tell a personal story that really people connect to,
Yeah,
right? So I love that you're saying that in these things you're trying to put it into a story with your humor and with your way you think about it. So you do have, I hate to tell you, brother, You do have a system.
It's I'm aware of that now, and that's a much more recent thing that formed over the last year. Before that, existence is chaos. I got a thing, and I would just start using it, recording stuff, and um, I don't know. Again, back to learning. I
Yeah,
just started studying. How do you make movies? How do you record? What is the proper way? You're not going to end up with a Marvel movie unless you have a script and everybody that is working on it has a job and they know what they're doing. All those pieces have to fit to make the full puzzle. I started studying a lot of stuff, and a friend in the community, Joe Jacks, he does pretty much at every event that he goes to, he ends up doing a class about how to record and edit content faster. And he drove that point home with me a lot, was like, you got to make a storyboard. You got to make a storyboard. I I don't know if I'm too lazy, or I really don't like the idea. I don't want to have a bunch of squares where I'm trying to draw my shot out. Like it doesn't fit in my brain. Like
right.
there's nothing wrong with it. Um
I think
yes, I have
I think
been
this is a good question going along with
camera
that. Have you ever been camera shy? Yeah.
shy. Yeah. I
Um,
still am. There's times where I'm just like I don't really do Rockler stories. I'll do stories 30 times a day on my personal account, but I just feel weird
yeah.
on Rocklers. I mean, I know it's gonna happen, and in a lot of people's head it probably already is. Like, I don't wanna be the face of Rockler, but I mean, that's kind of what is inherent with this job,
Right.
So I knew it was gonna be like that, but I feel like if I think it'll feel too much like that if I started doing stories.
Right.
I love stories on Instagram because it's literally that person's story. Like,
Right.
that's
Right.
why those are there. I'm not Rockler's story.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm Adam. You know what I mean? Like, so every time I've had to do one here and there, it just feels weird. And I'll start for a minute, but I just kind of a camera shy thing. Like, I'm like, eh. Now
But I
I'm
mean, like you said, the story is the story of you, of the day, of whatever. And
yeah.
yeah, I get that. Brian said, I never understand why a video thought about, shot, and edited gets 0 views, and a video with 0 editing or idea goes viral.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, it's the value that it's giving somebody. It's a visual. So one of my viral videos that I had no. I threw up the picture of the joint that I put together, and I was
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah, and it's just it was visually pleasing to me, and I put it up, and it wound up being visually pleasing to a lot of other people, and that's really what it is. It's not thought out, and this is coming back to the idea of the storyboards. I can't storyboard because to me it takes out the spontaneity,
Yeah.
which also takes out the appeal and the enjoyment for me.
Right. So that's something a lot of people do, and Joe Jacks tries to hammer that one home too. Like, now you've got a shot list, and it's like I I think creatively that feels too closed for me.
Yeah,
So I put together that script kind of thing, and I'm doing that over the course of however long it takes, and there's no image in my head exactly. Like, I wouldn't be able to draw something in a box and say this is what the shot is there, but I guess it would be more like an emotion, like a feeling. Like, I feel like I know what the shot is gonna be there, but I don't write it down. So then I take the thing out into the shop, and now I've got this
yeah,
script, which is basically I don't stick to it. It's what
no,
happens in here is usually very different than what that script said, but it is a very loose, incomplete roadmap, and it points me in the right direction. And now
so
I've got an idea. So now it makes it easy to start.
but it was a visual storyboard. I
Yeah,
mean,
I have
and that's not the
sentences down,
visual.
and
Yeah, the
yeah.
written part. So yeah, I mean, but that's important. So, and I was gonna say that that is really good for some people. It really helps out,
Mhm.
and so you using that gives you the idea. Okay, this is what I want to talk about. This is where I want the middle to be, and this is the end of the story.
Yeah. Pretty
Right.
much, like, I've got that kinda concept. Um, I think why I had to form a system like that was because my style was evolving, and I didn't wanna just set a camera there in one shot anymore, and it's just
Yeah.
me over there doing the thing, and then I have a 7-minute clip, and I'm gonna edit that down to 10 seconds. Why? Like,
Yeah.
it became so wasteful as far as my time and then, like, data transferring and backing up and putting massive files into your video editor, like, it has to think about it, so however much you put on the plate, it's gotta hold it all, even if you're
Right.
pulling all these little slices from it,
Right.
that's a little thing, but it's still trying to hold that all up in the background, so it slows everything down, and it's just unnecessary. Um, so as the style evolved, I wanted it to be more fun, which means, quicker shots, and it's not just one long shot from one, like, even if it's just me on camera talking, I'll edit myself. I
Yeah.
shoot wide so that I have all this, and
Yeah.
then I can start here, and then, like, when a point is made or when it feels like in a sentence you would put a comma or something, I'll cut it and then just zoom
That's
out a little bit or zoom in, so it gives you some fun movement. It's like watching a movie, like you pay attention to that. It's always changing the scene.
so two things. Number one, Suman said storyboard for a reel is a little nutty. Yes to general structure, but don't overdo it, because that's exactly what we're
Yeah.
talking about, right? You're using that as the general structure. The other thing I think is really important. Um, Harvey says we can tell you don't storyboard. Um, but the other thing that I think is really important there is, we all know this. People have a very limited attention span, and it's generally 3 seconds. That's the general rule for a clip, unless it is so visually appealing or
Right.
so, it gets someone in. So I love that you're doing that, because that is that visual change, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's you, it's the
The first time I did that in a video, like, I wasn't, like, actively thinking, "Oh, I'm going to do this," like, I did it, and I was like, "This feels really good." Like, after I watched the video after I did that, and I'm like, "That feels really good." And then it, like, kinda dawned on me, like, "Well, yeah, duh, that's what every movie and TV show in the world does." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense." So, it's not like, I'm, like, purposely trying to do that or anything, but I feel like it's a skill that I can hone in on because you could do it terribly. Too many cuts, too fast. Sometimes I'm like, "Ah, is this crap?" And
yeah,
sometimes, like, your shot doesn't really line up the way you want it to and stuff. So, there's a lot of things that I started digging into. When you start doing that stuff, you have an eye line. This is gonna be some nuggets for you guys. I pay a lot of attention to the eye line. So, in vertical format, you still wanna use the rule of thirds. So you know,
hmm,
1/3, you got 2 lines here and you got 2 lines here. I try to keep the eyes in that point right there, and if I cut or zoom in, and I try to keep my eyes in the same spot, because when we look at people, we look at their eyes.
right.
So if it's me here and then the next cut, I'm over here, you're, like, looking around,
It's
it hurts
disjointed,
your brain. It's
right? It's
it's too
disjointed,
chaotic and disjointed, so I try to keep the eye line a lot. So there are, like, little things that I look at, and then if you're doing, like, if there's ever 2 of me, like, I gotta be very careful with that stuff, like, I try not to have the lighting change, I try not to, fight shadows here or there, if I 'cause, you're gonna have to cut something in and out, so I want everything to look natural kinda thing.
right?
So, some of those times, I'll do one me. I'll hit record and I'll do me, and then I'll change. I won't stop the camera, and I'll
Right.
change, and then I'll come in and do the other one,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
go
because just pausing
see.
the doing whatever to the camera, you're gonna
Yeah,
but so I want to say this, Evan, real quick. I am not saying that your reels should be 3 seconds. We're saying that each clip within the reel is somewhere in that 3 second range.
and it
Um,
doesn't have to be the clip change, like, you need some form of action. Something needs to be happening regularly. If you watch a worm
Right.
try to get across the concrete, it's going to be the most boring thing ever, But if you're watching a rabbit jump through a field or a deer, like they're moving more. There's an action. There's something that you're following, and so I think it doesn't exactly have to be a cut. It's just, and I don't try to stick to like 3 seconds or anything. I do it where it feels natural, kind of
Yes.
thing.
Well, you can watch it and be like, oh, that bored me.
Yeah, yeah. Like I feel like in the beginning of my videos, I can't drag things out too long. I can't have like one thing because it's social media.
Right.
We've created a culture within ourselves of short attention span. I
Right.
need, keep it going kind of thing. But I feel like later on in the video, at least for me, because I'm like essentially doing videos about a product, like I'm infomercialing. I'm trying to teach a concept, look at what this can do. So I'm trying to convey information to somebody, not so much that I do like how-to videos for Rockler or anything anymore. But it's more of information. Later in that video, I feel like you can slow down. Now you can have a longer clip because now people are invested. If they stayed through that beginning, they want to either they're hooked to the story or you have something that's pulling them through, and you can slow down a little bit then. But then I feel like I try to ramp it up towards the end too to bring that excitement back.
Yeah.
So that so it's not so much 3 seconds. Just it's got to feel right, but you got to have something interesting.
Well, you and I were talking earlier that, there's the study of different stuff, and the average of 3 seconds is the thing. We have two parts. Number one, first of all, Pat Lapp is here, so I feel like now it's time just to end this because he came in and we should all just leave. But I guess we'll stick around. Brian asked, he said, do you use the rear camera or front? I use the rear camera because it's better. I use the rear camera usually.
I never use the front camera. Front camera is for Instagram stories, and that's it.
I use the front, like when I do my videos for the introduction for this, I'll stand in front of it. Like it's not bad for things like that. But if you're videotaping something that you're doing, I mean, it's easier to have the back camera so you can see what you're doing too.
Yeah, at least I think I'm not even sure so I'm using an iPhone 15 Pro something, whatever, for Rockler. That's my work phone. I shoot everything on that.
Do they pay for it?
Yeah, I mean it's a Rockler. It's my tool, like provided that and a computer and then whatever tools that I need for the videos kind of thing. They're an incredible company. I love my job. Like again, #blessed. I have a dream job. I feel imposter syndrome constantly. Like I'm just this dumb kid that, Metro Detroit kid. Why do I have this dream job? And I've weaseled my way in somehow. But there's a lot of times that I need to step back and be like, I worked my butt off to get here, man. I was a kid with no job, 20 years old, woman, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, all right, cool. I got to start working. I didn't go to college. I didn't have money. I still don't have any money. I'm just like trying to hold it together and working my butt off. Like, but that's the thing that I realized, like, people make those comments. Oh, if I had a shop full of all that, I could do that too. Yeah, you could.
I want to talk about the negative stuff. I do want to talk about that. But first, Papa Chad is here. Evan said hi. But Wendell Castle, you guys heard me talk about Wendell Castle Workshop earlier. They're in the chat. So if anyone has any questions for them about their classes, you can actually ask them in the chat if Ken is still here. Great place to take classes near me, so you can come visit me. Let's talk for a second about negative crap, because I know, and my buddy Steve Happy Life Wood just said Adam's a man.
I love Steve. That guy's so inspiring. His art is incredible.
We talked about you last week when he was here. His stuff is amazing, and if you guys haven't seen it, great talk with him last week. Go watch the YouTube. So I know that you get negative comments. You have to, right?
Oh yeah.
So, I hate to ask this, but how does it make you feel? Like I'm
Yeah,
gonna say this.
it
Yeah.
makes you feel exactly like you think it feels. It sucks.
But this is what blows me away. People that sometimes I'll talk to people and like, it's just fuel for the fire, and I just take it in. Dude, if you got a video where a whole bunch of people are commenting negatively, it hits you.
Yeah. Yeah. There's I think there's people that can handle it better than me. Last week I was at Workbench Con and I talked to so many peers, other content creators. And there's a lot of people that are just like, just delete it, hide it, whatever, let it go. Who cares? Like, whatever. Me personally, it gets under my skin sometimes. So I'd say more so in my personal content than Rockler because there's a lot of times that I can.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's a skill that's been honed over the last 3 years. I took it a lot more personally in the beginning. It was harder to start going through that stuff. But for the Rockler job, we use a program for moderation instead of just, I'm not sitting on the phone trying to go to every single account and go through everything. So you get a program. You probably heard of like, what is it, Mini Chat, I think is one of them, and Hootsuite. We use a thing called Agorapulse, and I love it. But it brings everything into one web browser, and I can read each one. So I got a tab for Facebook, I got a tab for Instagram, I've got a tab for YouTube, TikTok. So I just go to each one, and all the comments and everything are filtered in there. I can see the video that it's connected to, but it makes it very easy in those types of programs to hit hide, and it automatically hides things. It doesn't delete them because people. Not that I feel like people saying the negative thing deserve to not know that you said this isn't allowed here, but they can, when you hide something like on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, like the person that said it can still see it. They don't know that it's hidden kind of thing. So you're not upsetting people. And as a business, like we're not trying to upset people, but there's certain things we don't want them saying. Like we're a business and this is our space and we're trying to conduct business and we're trying to sell and we're trying to support a positive woodworking community. And we're here for everybody, but also you gotta have some limits. You can't be calling people certain things or saying certain stuff.
Right.
The hide feature is nice. I don't use it in my personal content, and I should. I probably should. But with I don't know, man. Like
I don't delete comments overall. I don't even normally hide them. If the software automatically hides them, I might undelete them. Depends on what they're saying. It gets irritating. It's the irritation. The worst I had was I had posted the video complaining about how a red company had copied my design for my flattening jig.
Yep.
And it's always Facebook for me, almost always Facebook. And I had, over the course of a day, I had 120 comments telling me that I shouldn't be a whiny little baby, that they stole my design and I should have just patented it. And it's like the first one, you're like, all right, I got a response for that. After the 20th time of a different person saying the same thing, you're like, what is going on here? So, it's stuff like that gets me. As Brian said, I don't mind trolls when they're coming on and they say something because you can respond to that and we can get there. But it's the multitude of it that will bother.
It's when something's going viral or like with the Rockler thing. I'm making these videos and posting them on accounts that have 225,000 followers. Like that's a big number. There's a good portion of those people that don't have anything nice to say, or like we were talking about earlier. So that's psychologists have actually labeled it now the disinhibition effect or syndrome. So when you're online, you're not face to face. So we, as humans, it's very easy to dehumanize the person, especially and just comments when it's just a text line. You don't have a face. There's no, you can't, like if you walked up to someone and you just pulled out a knife and you poked them in the arm, they're going to be like, ow, oh my God, you're going to see their face. You're going to hear those things. It doesn't happen. You don't have that online. So people have no fear and they get that disinhibition. So now I can say whatever I want. And there's no recourse. And you and I have talked about this before. The problem is people don't realize that, I can type this, whatever, but if I said that in real life to someone, I'm going to get punched in the face, or I'm going to see somebody like emotionally get hurt. I don't like, so I try to think about that like they're not realizing that, especially with the Rockler thing, like there's a human on the other end of that. I think it's a business, so people don't put together that on the other end of whatever you're commenting on is a human that has to read that. So when people say stuff like that, I try to let it go, but there's a lot of times, I was just talking about this at Workbench Con, and somebody pointed out to me very well, and I'm trying to like sit with it and let it sink in. But they said, there's a lot of people that handle those negative things. Like we were talking about John Wicks, and he just gives it back. Like they give him stupid and he just gives them stupid back. And he does a great job with it. And it's funny and he doesn't care. And he's like, oh, okay, thank you. Somebody pointed out to me, they're like, yeah, like you zing them back, but you have to be right. And I mean, generally, like people are saying something stupid and it's when I'm like, no, that's not right. Like I want to correct it kind of thing, which is a bad habit, and I try not to do that. I almost made an enemy in the community with somebody because I had some drinks one night and then I left this long rant like, oh, this isn't right. We became good friends last week at Workbench Con because we were face to face. It took away that whole thing.
Kill him with kindness, as Steve said. Well, so real quick, because it's 8:57 and I need to at this point make this statement because at an hour Instagram will cut off. You and I and whoever's here on YouTube will continue with us. So I'm still on YouTube. We're going to keep talking for a little bit. I want to make sure everyone knows that next week. So next week is going to be interesting. I'm going to have Wood Grain Junkie, Kevin from Wood Grain Junkie on here. And one of the things I think is interesting that Kevin and I have some crossover in things that we're making and selling.
Yeah.
Not as much crossover as Crafted Elements have created with his product line. Dude, that's just all right. Anyway, I don't want to talk about that. I will, but so he's going to be on next week to talk about business. So I want to have him in to talk about because he has a physical space and he's shipping this stuff out. So I think next week will be an interesting conversation as well. So we're going to keep going on here, but again, Instagram will automatically cut off in a couple of minutes. Now back to our regularly scheduled Adam. So anyway, I mean, it's just, it's there and it's always frustrating. So as we're winding up on Instagram, if you could say one thing to the people who won't come over to YouTube, not about coming over, but if you could end with one thought for them, what would you end with in terms of content creation?
Give me 60 seconds to get this all out.
Hell yeah.
I don't know. One of the biggest things for me is I say this to myself regularly every day. The only way to finish is to begin. You just got to do it. Whatever. Don't look at the whole picture. That is a lot. Like, oh, how am I going to do this? This is so much. Just where is the beginning? This is the one step that I need to do to start there. One foot in front of the other kind of thing. So just start recording, start doing things. Don't be camera shy. Just, work through it. Keep recording. It's a ramp. You're going to get better. Things are going to get better. You're going to learn more. Just keep doing it. Consistency, I guess, is the most important thing, but you gotta do it in order to get it done.
One of my, so when I was a kid, I was a terrible procrastinator and I also like to read. Yeah. One of the books that I read when I was very young was Lord of the Rings, Hobbits, and Samwise Gamgee. And I'll never forget this. And it really stuck with me. It said, he said, it's the job never started that takes the longest to finish.
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
if you never get started, you'll never get there. And that to me was really important. Brett asked, do you have a preferred platform?
I prefer Instagram. I think Instagram has the best community, and that's what's super important to me is that there is a community. I don't want to. I would feel too disconnected if I was just making a video and posting it. And at
Yeah.
least on Instagram, I feel like we're all rallying behind each other, and there's a little bit more community than on YouTube or TikTok, especially. Like, is a very similar thing, but not at all.
It's so disparate there. It's like,
Yeah.
you can have these people that follow you that you talk to, and then all of a sudden they disappear because the algorithm stops showing them any of your stuff.
Yeah.
And I agree with you completely on Instagram. The community there is so much better. Facebook, like I said,
It's a
Facebook.
cesspool.
Yeah, well, I don't want to say it's accessible, but people tend to be like, I have some very nice people on there that comment
Yeah.
and come talk to me and ask me questions, but the negatives on there are very strongly negative. And you
Yeah.
know what? It's what you were talking about before. Not only the fact that they don't see you, they're also the older generation, because that's what we usually think about for Facebook.
Yeah.
So they're used to the one-on-one, face-to-face conversations.
You're saying on Facebook that they're used to the face one-on-one conversations, and that's why they're meaner because they're more disconnected. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. I completely agree.
Thanks for tying that all together for me.
Yeah. I'm here for you. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Brian said he hasn't really found the community on Instagram. TikTok does have the community. Yeah, like I know, Brian, you and I met on TikTok. There's a lot of people that we're sort of friends with, but I just think it's weird on TikTok how you can lose people so easily.
Yeah. I mean, if you're saying you haven't found a community yet, I think that's one of the biggest things that I like about Instagram is that you don't have to find the community and, oh, do I fit in here? You create your community. So think of every platform. You got an Instagram. Every follower is part of your community. They're there because of you. Whatever you did, whatever you're teaching, whatever joke you made. That's why I love stories on there so much. And you start creating your own community there. So the people that you look up to or want to be friends with, you just start sending DMs and stuff. Just start talking to people because they're real people and their stories. If you think something's funny, tell them, just share that and just start making human connections. Like, community is the most human thing. That's why we rule this planet. We started not just being a bunch of animals running around trying to fight for food. We started saying, hey, how about we all live together and try to fight for food together? We created community. That's the human thing. Let's plant and farm this stuff together.
and fight.
Yeah, you still got to fight a bear, man. They're out there.
Yeah, but I like that. I like that a lot, and it is so. Brian, I agree. I think it's the people that the community is the people that you interact with the most, right? Or the ones that you talk to. Brian from Old Mountain Woodworking is, don't talk politics. Don't ever talk politics. I avoid that conversation. As a matter of fact, somebody, and it might have been you, Greg, at one point said something to somebody political on one of my posts, and I was like, listen, man, we get politics everywhere else.
Yeah.
We need to just stay away from it here where we can just enjoy what makes us happy.
I feel like as content creators that are makers in whatever aspect, woodworking seems to be our closest tie to everything. But I think that community is better at that than others because we have a different focus. I'm showing you something, and it's not just what I feel about or the joke I want to make kind of thing. It's tools and it's how to create something. It's, hey, look at this thing that you can make.
Right,
And that's universal.
Right.
It doesn't matter what political alignment or religion or lack thereof or anything. It doesn't matter language. It doesn't matter race, anything. Everybody can look at a well-constructed, beautiful piece and say, that's a well-constructed, beautiful piece. How'd you do that? And then, so there's so much more for us to connect on. I feel like we have that advantage in the content creating world and social media. Like we can connect to that stuff. And it's kind of unspoken, but I feel like it's been spoken a little bit more. Just leave that stuff out, man. Like, why ruin a friendship that you can make and a relationship that you can have all these good things? Why ruin that with the potential of disagreement? You know, it's not worth it. So I think that's why a lot of people do leave that out and just avoid it.
And I like Greg just said, he said, I remember it was me. Now I only boost people up no matter what they say. And honestly, and I've heard this from a lot of people in terms of myself. They're like, Logan, you are the biggest cheerleader. And that's just because I believe it's important. I love seeing what people are making, and I love being able to look at and enjoy it. But I also think it's really important to say, I love seeing your work and I love seeing what they're doing, because everyone that I interact with, I do love seeing it. Everyone has something else to offer. Brian, I got to say this. So I'm going to post this here. Brian said, I just feel like there's a bit of a wall up there on IG. I seem to pick up 8 followers, but in turn lose 5. So listen, man, I'm at 223,000 followers. Okay. I've been at 223,000 followers. Well, I was at 222 for almost at least 8 months. I gain and lose the same number in a week. Like it is what it is.
Yeah. I think growth for me on my accounts started when I stopped caring about growth for me on my accounts.
Yeah.
I think it was around 1,000. I think I was getting to 1,000, not even there. But there were some friends that I made. I started DMing those people, and every time I saw their content come up, I left a comment and said, "That's awesome. Good job." Something positive. If I liked the way something looked, I told them, "I really like the way that looks. Good job." And then, like we were saying, like you're not trying to get into a community, you're creating community. We're all in the same community. That's kind of the big thing. We're all under that one umbrella. We're all into making and woodworking or ceramics or metalworking, whatever it is. Like we're all kind of in that umbrella. And then there's, all these little, it's like a family tree, everything kind of branches out and connects, or a spider web might be a better way, and it's all, we're all connected somehow.
Yeah.
And you just create those core connections and then just have fun, share what you're doing. If you're really dead set on just numbers, you're going to drive yourself insane. Because I say this all the time. Existence is chaos, man. Like there's some people making incredible content and working their butt off, making not just the best content, but also making the best stuff, whatever they're building, these beautiful pieces, like stuff that blows my mind that I don't have the skill level to do, and nobody's watching them, but they post a video once a month and 3 in a row or 2 in one day.
Yeah.
If you really, really want to get into it, you're going to drive yourself crazy, but it's literally just math, man. It's an algorithm. You need to be present. You need to be consistent. You got to think of it. Okay, how is the computer? What is its job? The algorithm is saying, I need to give every single person on this platform something to look at right now.
Yeah.
It's constantly doing that. And then it's curating. This person is liking this stuff, so I need this kind of stuff. Well, we're all makers. We're trying to show either our products or a how-to, basically, or a joke about a relatable thing. So, all right, I need the maker niche. If you're there Monday through Friday at 8 a.m., it's just a computer looking for numbers that are consistent. A consistent number is going to be way more usable. You're giving the algorithm more value by being consistent. So you're posting, you don't have to make a banger movie, the whole production thing every time. Just
Yeah.
post something. You get consistent. You start hitting Monday through Friday, same time. Don't do the weekends. Don't purposely drive yourself crazy. You want to post 7 days a week, go for it. That'll burn you out. I did it
Yeah.
for like 2 weeks, and I was like, I'm done for 6 months.
Yeah. No, you got to take days off. Like I said a couple weeks ago, I was, because of doing this weekly talk,
Mhm.
I was posting 7 days a week when I wouldn't normally be, and
Right.
so I started taking off one. I don't post on Wednesdays as a general rule. Thursdays are, a flashback, throwback. But I hate to say this because I think it's unfair. I can say with 100% certainty that 50,000 of my followers came from one video, right?
Yeah.
It's also being lucky. Like
Yep.
I and the thing is, when I posted that video, it was a repost I had posted
Yeah.
the video earlier in the year, and it had gotten 70,000 views. And the second time I posted it, it got millions and millions. And it's just, it's diligence, it's luck, it's going with the things. I just posted at the right time on the right day,
Yeah.
and that's
There's a huge level of luck. We don't know. It's chaos. It's this wild thing that nobody understands. We're not going to figure out the algorithm, whatever.
no,
But it is consistency.
yeah,
And the repost game, I feel like, is a huge way to grow. I'd say there's a few exceptions, but there's a lot of my videos that went viral. It was the second or fifth time that I've posted it, and then it took off. But the reason I'm reposting is, one, if I'm trying to be consistent, it's too hard to
yeah,
try to constantly have a video done, edited, ready to go every single day. It's okay to just have some B-roll and say something, or just show one little thing, like edit some stuff, and then start reposting. If you know something did well, or you were just proud of that video,
yeah,
post it again. There, you just got a day off that was easy. You didn't have to stress yourself out too much. Now, with me doing the Rockler job, I'm always burnt out. Like,
yeah,
I just want to put the phones away, and I want to go inside. I want to crawl into the basement, turn all the lights off, and just be silent for like a month, man. I don't want to talk. I don't want to but also it's very isolating.
right,
And I'm an extremely social person. So the job is perfect, and it's also terrible. So I'm always burnt out because I'm doing that for, over 40 hours a week. And then I have my personal account that I'm supposed to come out here. My
yeah,
personal account has suffered a
yeah,
ton. And as soon as I stopped caring, I told myself at the beginning of last year, I said, I'm going to just let my personal account die. I'm part of the community. I'm not going
yeah,
to lose my connection to all my friends. If I want to DM them, I can DM them. I don't have to post regularly to keep a friend, to stay connected to
yeah,
the community. I was like, I'll just let my account die. And then I didn't care about it for a while, and then I started posting for fun again, and then I
yeah,
was like, "Oh, let's see if I can just repost all this stuff." So I spent, uh, 2 weeks, I reposted, like, everything. I was like, "I'm just gonna go for it." So for 2 weeks straight, 5 days a week, I posted at 8 AM and at, I think, 2 PM for 2 weeks straight, and my account doubled
wow.
over the next 8 months, where I only posted, like, 2 or 3 times a month.
Well,
It just
again,
kept growing. Certain videos hit, and the algorithm was happy that it was there, and it just kept feeding it. So you get lucky, but you create being proactive. The 7 habits of highly effective is a huge part of my life. Habit number 1 is be proactive. Being proactive, yeah, we can say that there's a level of luck. It's random. It's chaos. That's just what living in space on this little ball is. But we have free will, and we can be proactive. So I think the biggest thing to learn from being proactive is getting something done. You can't
yeah,
finish until you begin, kind of thing. But what you're doing is completing something, and you're creating opportunity. I don't get an opportunity if I never get done with the thing that I'm working on. I can't say
right,
yes. I can't be there. So you just keep making content, and then you post regularly, repost things. It doesn't matter. I know, I don't want to say a certain person's name. I know an account that I'm not a huge fan of, and I think they have 40 videos and that's it. And they've been posting those same 40 videos for 2 years now, and they have 150,000 followers, and they've gone full time and quit their day job and stuff, and it's like,
I can do that.
I don't, that's not fun.
Well, so Brian asked a question. He says, "Do you have a rule of how long you wait to repost?" No, not in your case, because you went 8 months and then reposted everything.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Rule.
It depends. I guess it would depend on the views. If it got a lot of views, which is what is a lot of views to you might be a lot of views, or not a lot of views to someone else. So it's, you got to look at your own specific situation. If it didn't get that many views, you could post it again in a couple months. I feel like if something does take off and does very well, I don't want to repost that within like 6 months, because I don't want my followers to see this like video constantly coming up and there's my face and they're like, God, it's the same video, man. Like, I don't want that.
I think you're okay within 5 months, because if it's a viral video for you, that doesn't mean those people saw it.
Generally, a viral video, the people that put all those numbers up saw it once.
Right. So, I mean, that's the thing, is the other part of it is, the people seeing your content are also seeing Adam's content and my content and Microjig and I'm looking at names on here, Steve and everyone else. Like, they're seeing everyone's content. They don't remember it. Occasionally they'll remember a part of it, and if it comes up again, they'll be like, "Oh, I remember. Yeah, that was good." Or they might not. It doesn't matter. If it got big views once, it will most likely got big views again. And I'm going to say this: I did wait a year. Last year, I posted a video in January, and I reposted it again at the beginning of January this year. And not only did it get as many, if not more, views, it also drove a crap ton of sales for my jigs. Yeah. Like, I had January of this past of 2025 was massive for me. I had a huge number of sales, and that's because of that viral video. So, being aware of when you're posting it. But I think I have a couple videos that I've posted at least 2 or 3 times or the idea behind it.
Yeah.
It works. People like it.
Always bet on yourself. I am not afraid to take a risk of something that I think is good, which I have done with a couple videos that I thought it was a cool thing that I made, and I thought it was kind of a cool presentation and a shot for it. And like I said, I posted it like 5 times, and it was a product. It was my measure twice, cut once signs. And I had posted it like 5 or 6 times beforehand, but then I was like, oh, Black Friday's coming. I guess I'll post this again. I had 3 signs left. I was like, I'll post this and say, hey, if you want one, grab it, because it's probably going to sell out. And then the video went viral. And then I ended up making hundreds of them as fast as I could before Christmas, and it crippled my life. Like, I wasn't prepared for it. But
that's a terrible feeling.
But that was one of those times, like, always bet on yourself. It did exactly what I wanted it to do, but I wasn't prepared for it, which was my fault. I wasn't proactive. Hey, if I'm going to try to sell something, I should probably have stock of it or be ready to make stock of it,
Well, that's what happened last year when the video went viral. I was expecting it to get seen by a couple people. I would sell, 2 or 3. I was planning, all right, and then once I sold them, that's when I planned on figuring out pricing, whether my pricing was good, and then I sold out of everything, and it was terrible.
Yeah. It's tough. That's what my workbench conference, that's what my talk was about, ended up being mostly about, was product development. And then, so we were talking about that. Workbench Con felt a little disjointed this year. So they were advertising that I was going to be teaching about social media marketing and stuff. And they had a few different spots that it was listed, and each one said something different. And then I was like, they specifically asked me to talk about product development and tie that into social media marketing a little bit, and said it was people really want this class. Will you please do this? So I get there and I'm like, well, now nobody even knows that's what I'm about to talk about.
Right.
But so I had 14 slides ready and my whole script in front of me, and I'm standing in front of the podium about to start, and I just slid my script under the computer and I showed 2 slides. I
Yeah.
was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tell a story, and I'm going to weave all of these points in. So the first slide was the 7 habits of highly effective people. And I told kind of my personal story, how that book changed my life and helped get me to where I am. And then the next slide is the 7 stages of product development, which very closely mirror the 7 habits of highly effective people.
Interesting.
So I just kind of told a story about that. And then the story I ended up telling was about those hair picks that I make, the Afro picks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, again, one of those things that I made it as a joke for a guy I worked with. He had his power was cracked or whatever, and it was just this beat up hair pick. And I'm like, man, I should make you one out of like solid walnut and just be the baddest pick ever. And he was like, okay, yeah, you should do it. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to. So I went home and I made it, but I measured his and it was eighth
Yeah.
inch thick, and I made mine and it was eighth inch thick. And I gave it to him just as a joke or whatever. And then I was like, well, I might as well start selling these. And then I started getting a bunch of bad reviews, and I was having trouble keeping up making them. And the reviews are like, this person clearly knows nothing about hair. These are too thin. Like, this is going to crack. It feels like I'm going to break it if I put it in my purse. I'm like, put it in your purse. Oh, yeah. I didn't picture like the end user on this. Like, I am going about this all wrong. So I researched the crap out of it and changed completely how I made it, and then improved all my processes so that I had a bunch of jigs made that I could make them quicker and easier, and honed all that stuff in. And that was a fun talk. But yeah.
So someone here, just because Instagram's still going, they said it was a great presentation, and Kieselbach said it was a mess. The schedule was a joke, and they didn't tell everyone about all the classes. I told you I made combs. I used to make wooden combs when I did art shows, and the big selling point is that a wooden comb is better for your hair or pick than a plastic one, right? Because the oil does that, and then yeah. So it was interesting making those, and I ran into the same piece. Like, I would make them, and a couple of the teeth broke and everything else. And it's interesting thinking about the just the going through the product development and everything else. All right, so listen, it's 9:23.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this is going to be our ending question today, and this is really important. If you won $10 million tomorrow, what would you do?
I know it looks like I'm taking a long time to answer this, but
Not at all.
I think about this often. First thing I would do is I would pay off my debt. And then I would pay off whatever else Kim and I need to pay off. I would sell this place. We would get some property where I could build her a full pottery studio, and I would build me a full metal shop and a full wood shop. And I'd probably have, a couple other different, just art specific things. I'd have way too many guitar pedals and amps that I've always dreamed of. I would take care of my family first. I would get all those things, relieve the burden of I need to work every single day and do the American grind nonstop just to be able to make ends meet. I would make all the ends meet, and then I would put us in a comfortable position that we can create in a loving open space, and probably do the same thing I'm doing right now, but
with less pressure and more enjoyment.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's probably what I would do.
That would be fantastic. Well, listen, I'm going to end Instagram and YouTube. I want to thank everyone for being here. Adam, I really appreciate this. Was a great talk. There's a lot of things that I think came out from this, a lot of things that everyone can get from it. This will be live on my YouTube. So if you found this interesting and you only caught part of it, please watch it all, because I think there's, again, a whole lot there. And you get to see Adam's sort of bearded face.
I'm pretty clean right now.
Yeah, you gotta be
We're
manly.
like we traded or something.
Yeah. And I want to thank those of you who commented, and whenever you had stuff to ask, I appreciate that, because that helps a lot here as well. So you guys have a fantastic evening. Adam, you and I are going to hang on for a second, and I'm just going to end these.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.